Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Last American Pubcast. Hope you guys are all having a good week. I'm PJ Williams of Conspiracy Pilled, and I'm joined today by Abby Libby, my co-host over there on Conspiracy Pilled. How's it going?
Hey.
And a special guest you guys have seen before, Jessica Holmes from Lit. How's it going, Jess?
Hey.
So, yeah, we got a lot of interesting stuff to get to. I hope everyone's doing well. You guys brought your drinks along for a nice night of politics and craziness.
I'm a teetotaler tonight.
Teetotaler. How's your guys' week been?
Weird.
Weird?
Yeah.
Is
Like,
everybody
not bad.
having a weird week? Because that's everyone I've talked to is like, not bad, but weird. Did they turn CERN on again?
Yes.
Probably.
I've been having a weird week too. How's your week been, Jess?
Parts of it very stressful, parts of it good. Feel like I finally had a really good breakthrough trying to convince some of my students that maybe all of the climate change propaganda isn't what it actually is. So that was nice. Yay, breakthroughs.
Jess
Only
is
took almost a
the
year.
only person in public school system doing the Lord's work. So yeah,
I appreciate that.
good on you. There's a lot of terrible things going on in the public, though, not just what's happening in the schools, but apparently our courthouses too, where we got this story that came out this week. A new goat horn demon now stands on top of the New York courthouse. It's one of those things where it's just like, I'm just looking at it going, I'm almost speechless for a minute. But yeah, apparently this gets great. So a new statue on top of the New York City courthouse, the artist says it's part of an urgent and necessary cultural reckoning underway as New York reconsiders traditional representation of power in public spaces and recasts civil structures to more reflect the 21st century social mores. I actually don't think that is wrong, what they're saying about it. You know what I mean? Like recasting to reflect more of how our society is functioning and looking right now, what we actually believe and care in. And that would be a goat horn demon woman. And this is the last part I'll read, and then I want to get your thoughts. The statue is named Now. The statue named Now is a female figure emerging from a pink lotus. It has braids shaped as horns with a judicial lace apron. It is meant to pay homage to Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her fight for abortion. So what better way to adorn our courthouses than a goddess of child sacrifice?
I just want to say I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg was the perfect person for this, because if she had retired when her party asked her to, instead of stubbornly remaining in power forever, she wouldn't have died during Trump's presidency. So she really is the reason why we were finally able to end Roe v. Wade. So shout out to Ruth Bader Ginsburg for saving the babies. Thank you.
That's a good take on that. Yeah. What do you think, Jess?
I like that. It would be that our society builds a demonic idol to child sacrifice on our courthouses. It's really sad and really depressing, to be perfectly honest. And it's sad that so much of our art looks like that. Like not even a week ago, we got the Martin Luther King statue.
That was literally
just
last
arms.
week. Last week on our episode, we were talking about the weird arms. Yeah.
I think it was Michael Knowles who said our society has forgotten that men need to have chests and heads, which is funny because C.S. Lewis wrote a book called
That's
Men
a great
Without
book.
Chests.
Yeah.
So it's like you need to have heart, like an actual soul, and you need to have actual logic, and all they have is arms.
RBG dies to save millions. I mean, you're not wrong.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, but it is interesting that they literally create a pagan goddess statue in honor of her and abortion, her fight for abortion that she failed, but which is good for us. But yeah, interesting.
And I tried to figure out what demon this was supposed to be in reference to, and I think it's just a total mishmash. The tentacle arms are from a pantheon written by H.P. Lovecraft, so like not even a real pantheon, although it has come so into the imaginations of people that now I do think it is a real pantheon, talking about the same creatures that have always been talked about and conceived of. I think H.P. Lovecraft was just right. So the tentacle arms are one of those goddesses, and then the The ram's horns are, I think, the horns of Ammon from Egyptian mythology, which indicates supremacy. So Ammon-Ra wore the horns. You see the horns on Zeus. You see the horns on Alexander the Great on coins, things like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It does seem to be like just a mix mash, whatever you call it, of a bunch of different gods. But it's weird because it's like at one point, it's funny. I've been kind of researching American history with statues and all of the hidden symbolism, Freemasonry stuff in them. And I'm like, at least at one point we hid our pagan roots of America behind, supposedly Christian artwork. And now it's just like right out in the open. So like, I wonder, I sometimes wonder what's better to just have it be open, have the Satanists be open about who they are, or to have them pretend to be, parts of the church and things like that.
I've been yelled at about this on Twitter before, but my position on statues has always been tear them all down. It's super weird that we have idols all over our country.
Right.
They're like, you liberal, how dare you?
It was one of those things that I feel like a lot of conservatives felt like we had to like take a stand on. It's one of those times where it's like, well, the left doesn't like this, so we have to find a reason to like it. And I've always been like, well, I don't know if we should have Confederate statues on courthouses or statues of everyone everywhere all the time. I'm not really big on that whole thing. So yeah. Tear them all down.
Beautiful art without having statues of people and idols.
Yeah. As long as you idolize the right people, though, then it's Christian. I've been told it's in the Bible.
They're like, if we tear down the statues, how will we remember history? The statue doesn't tell you anything about history. It's just a like.
I think I learned the history without ever going and seeing the statues. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But we might not have to worry about statues and people remembering history if we enter World War III, which it seems to be the Biden administration's goal to move us there. The United States is now sending 31 Abrams tanks and 500 armored vehicles to Ukraine to fight Russia. So,
we're going to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. Is I thought there was something that was going to happen if we did that. And our wise leader once told us about what would happen.
The idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say, that's called World War III. Okay?
So
the same to start World War III.
The same guy who tells us when we send tanks and planes and trains and personnel into Ukraine, we'll start World War III, is sending tanks and planes and trains and personnel into Ukraine. So, not surprised. It says we're not streaming to Rumble. We are not streaming to Rumble tonight. I don't have access to the Rumble right now, and Tom is not here. It was a last minute thing. He forgot that he had to be somewhere, so it's a little last minute on some of the setup tonight. So I apologize for people who normally watch some Rumble. I'm sure this will be uploaded later, but just the way we have things set up, I didn't have the ability to put us on Rumble or Odyssey tonight. So they'll just be uploaded later.
He scheduled his vacation while we were still doing this on Saturday nights. And then he was like, oh, we switch nights. No.
And then he's like, oh crap, I'm leaving for vacation right now, when he remembered that he wouldn't be here for Thursday. So yeah.
Oh.
Great planning on all of our parts. No, it happens. So but yeah, what do you think of this, Abby? Is this something you saw coming? Did you see this is where it was always heading to, or
the statue?
Sending tanks into Ukraine. Sending statues to Ukraine, sending Moloch statues to Ukraine. I'm pretty sure they have them there already. We probably imported them from Ukraine to New York.
I thought we were heading into World War III from the minute Russia invaded Ukraine. But it took so long and it's been so dragged out that I've kind of stopped thinking that. And now I guess what's the point of ramping it back up again? But I know Zelensky is demanding all the Ukrainian men in Europe come back to Ukraine to fight. So
right. It's interesting because if you look back, I feel like everybody thinks these wars kick off all at once. And, there was Nazi occupation going back to 1937. It wasn't until 1941 that America got involved. It was, even while they were invading their neighbors, it took Great Britain a while to get involved in World War II. So it's only been a year. I wouldn't surprise me if we, if this escalation continues, and I would think sending tanks to Ukraine would be part of that escalation. It wouldn't surprise me if this just keeps growing and growing. And I think they want it to.
Yeah. It's a moneymaker.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like back then it made sense to stop a horrible Nazi regime. Now it's like, I don't even know why the US is involved with Ukraine and Russia at this point. What is the purpose besides, like you said, it's a moneymaker?
We have to stop Putin from taking back former Russian territory to prop up a money laundering, child trafficking country that also does biological weapon testing. That's the way I look at it. It's like it's not even that I think Russia's good or right in this thing. It's just that it's like, but Ukraine really sucks, and I feel
They
like,
both
you know,
suck.
if they both have to, like, what, you know, beat each other up for a while and we can sit out of it, it's like, isn't that better for the
Right.
world stage in some way? But it's not for the politicians who are laundering money and the weapon testing labs that we were told didn't exist, and then we had to protect them at all costs. Remember those ones?
It's
Yeah.
just a global size money laundering machine.
I think Ukraine's just the elite's playground. I think it's just a corrupt Eastern European playground. I know people argue they don't want to be known as Eastern European, whatever they are. They're just a corrupt Eastern European playground for the elites. That's how I look at it. And I think that they want to protect it. And I think it's still a corrupt Eastern European playground, where it's like, is it really what we're being told when U2's got all these concerts going on over there, and our, you know, Ben Stiller's over there hanging out with Zelensky and stuff like that? Like,
Didn't somebody
know.
give him an Oscar, or give Zelensky an Oscar or something like that for his
Yeah.
wonderful acting?
that's my favorite part. It's like Zelensky and Cuomo both got
Yeah.
Oscar, or I think Cuomo got an Emmy. But I'm looking at this going, you know, those are for acting, right? And you're just like, are you just telling us that they're actors? Like Zelensky walking around with his, olive drab clothes all the time, as if he's on the front lines. But he's constantly, like, his wife's in Paris shopping for with $80,000 worth of jewelry. Did you guys see that story a few weeks ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
John brought this up in the chat, but you know you're in the wrong when you're siding with Germany in a world war.
Fair. And look at this is what Germany is saying right now about World War III.
And therefore, I've said already in the last days, yes, we have to do more to defend Ukraine.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna rewind this really quick. I know, like, maybe it's just my brain having read Revelations recently, but like when you start off with "in the last days," it just makes me think of things. I don't know.
Yeah.
And therefore, I've said already in the last days, yes, we have to do more to defend Ukraine. Yes, we have to do more also on tanks. But the most important and the crucial part is that we do it together, and that we do not do the blame game in Europe, because we are fighting a war against Russia and not against each other. Thank you.
So just straight out, we are fighting a war against Russia. It's like they're not even hiding it anymore, that this is the goal. This is where they want to move things to. And then sending tanks and planes and trains and all that. We were told originally. It's just like when we were told that didn't we get into this whole thing because Biden said we wouldn't intervene? Remember that?
Yeah. We've always been at war with Eurasia.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been mixed messaging from the beginning, right? Because it's like,
Right.
we have to stop this, but it's been our actions or lack of actions that led here in the first place. There's a reason Putin never attacked under Trump. He attacked under Obama, and he attacked under Biden, but not during the 4 years of the worst president on the planet.
Yeah, no, I want to bring this back because I feel like everybody does forget this. The whole thing that kicked off this whole war was they asked Biden. They said, "Hey, if Russia invades Ukraine, are you going to do anything about it?" He's like, "No, I mean, probably not." And then everybody's looking at this going, we don't want you to, but we also want them to think you will, so that way they don't invade and we don't have another war. And everybody called it, was like, "Hey, well, Russia just got the signal to go to war." And then what are we doing? Exactly the whole thing we said we weren't going to do that started the thing in the first place. It's just the whole thing is weird to me. But yeah, it's hard for me to look back at what Biden said and think that was not part of a plan to some degree of, like, I don't know. Am I thinking too conspiratorial about this? Like, do you think it was a misslip, or, you know, him misspeaking, or him just being like, the weapons industry really could use some cash flow right now, you know?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I honestly wish they would just come out and say it, because it would be a somewhat compelling argument to say, look, the thing that got us out of the Great Depression was World War II. We need another war to get us out of this economic downturn. I would be like, thank you for your honesty.
So in New York, we're sacrificing children for climate change and putting pagan gods on our courthouses. And on the world stage, we need a blood ritual in order to get out of an economic depression.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what.
Before they
Yeah.
make us all eat the bugs.
Before they make us all eat the bugs. Well, apparently we're not the only ones who are thinking doomsday, because I don't know if you guys are familiar with this like Cold Era thing, or Cold War era thing, where it was like, we have the doomsday clock and we're going to put it out in front of people and tell people, just how bad things are about to become. I forgot this was a thing. I didn't know it was still a thing. Like, I'd heard about it in reference to obviously Cold War stuff, but now they have a new update on the doomsday clock.
The members of the Science and Security Board moved the hands of the doomsday clock forward, largely, though not exclusively, because of the mounting dangers in the war in Ukraine. We moved the clock forward the closest it has ever been to midnight. It is now 90 seconds to midnight.
I feel like I'm watching PBS or something.
It sounds like that episode of The Office where Michael Scott's like, what is it? Threat level midnight.
Yeah. Threat level midnight. It's a great movie. What were you going to say, Abby?
I don't understand this clock thing. Am I like the only person on the planet who doesn't know what's
Isn't
going on?
it supposed to be like how close we are to nuclear holocaust or something like that?
Essentially that's what it is. That's why it came up during the Cold War. It was like, here's the tensions between us and Russia right now, and here's how close we are to a spark lighting, igniting nuclear war is what it is. So, but I'm just looking at this going like, if you're going to announce that the world is about to like kill itself, could you not make it any more exciting than this really like,
though not exclusively,
poor local,
because of the mounting dangers in the war in
local
Ukraine.
Cable channel crap?
We moved the clock forward the closest it has ever been to midnight. It is now 90 seconds to midnight.
I'd like to know the math behind it. Like, how do they know it's 90 seconds? How do they know it's not 30 seconds? How do they know it's not 15 minutes? Like, what's the calculation there?
It's all propaganda. I mean, it always has been propaganda. Like, I just find it funny. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting stuck on this point of like, can you be a little bit more like enthused, excited, angry, scared, like any emotion other than like, we're about to all die.
They know it's propaganda, which is why they're like, whatever.
They're all old enough in this video to have been the ones who wrote the original
right?
propaganda. Right? Like, every one of these people probably at one point told a student to hide under their desk. It would save them from a nuclear bomb. And
we wonder why the boomers are messed up.
I wonder how long it's going to be before I have to start doing that in my classroom.
Because hiding under your desk is definitely going to help.
We took the lead out of the classroom, so it's not going to work anymore. It was the lead paint that's
what it was.
Yeah.
Shucks.
Yep, that's what protected you from the harmful radiations. Now, I mean, that's the whole thing. Did they take the lead out so that way we'd be more susceptible, to
That's a conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy.
I have a question. Do you think at the start of World War I or World War II, you pick one, did it feel like this much of a meme to them, or was life more serious back then?
I wonder that too. I really do. I feel like in some way, like, we're definitely living in times where people are a lot more jaded, I think, than they used to be. But I also think, like, we watch all these old propaganda films, and we're like, oh, people totally bought this. I'm like, did they though? Or did they think they were as corny back then as we do now? Because it does seem like Americans were not interested in getting into World War II because they're watching these propaganda films, these very cheesy propaganda films every time they go see a movie, right? Because that's how they were originally put out, is you'd go see them, even cartoons like were played at movie theaters. So if you went and saw a 15-minute Bugs Bunny film, you were given a 10-minute movie reel of propaganda. So I wonder if they were looking at this going, this is why we don't want to get involved, because it's all crap. Whether it was or not, I feel like maybe just the corniness of it maybe made people feel like this is just the government being the government. But maybe with hindsight, we just see it for propaganda, whereas maybe they didn't then.
I think that's definitely true for World War II. But if you read some of just like the fictional literature or poetry that came out during World War I think people really bought into it more. There is a lot of different art that was put out that's very patriotic,
Right.
very much love of country. And I don't know if that was so much propaganda because it was coming from artists. Whereas by the time you get to World War II, all of that type of literature and art is very jaded and very dark. No one wants to do this again because they remember what it was like in World War I.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
also World War One was pre Edward Bernays, the king of
Right.
the propagandist of propaganda. So, but yeah, I think that's true. I think everybody really did believe World War One was the war to end all wars. It was called the Great War before
Right.
it was World War One.
That generation was called the Greatest Generation.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe obviously back then people didn't have the alternative sources that we do now. I feel like even going back to the 90s, it was so much easier to just buy into propaganda because you had, and I know a lot of people like Romney want to go out there and be like, oh, remember when they had 3 stations and there wasn't all this infighting? It's like, you mean when the 3 stations were all in lockstep lying to us and we had no way of knowing the truth? Yeah. So like there is that aspect. We just have more of whether people take the time to look into it or not, we have access to more information now than we ever have before. And I think that makes us jaded. So I don't know.
I mean, imagine though being alive for World War I and being told this is the war to end all wars. The sacrifice is horrific. This thing is horrific, but it's going to be the last war this planet ever fights. And then all of these people in their lifetime see another equally large war with the same people.
Right.
Like that would be so. Like that would destroy people, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be very discouraging, which just seeing it now in my lifetime, it's very discouraging.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I also could see like the other side of like people saw the Great War being that war to end all wars and they're like, it didn't end any wars and we're just having more wars. So maybe by the time the propaganda rolls around for World War II, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have been involved in World War II. It's not the point I'm making. You shouldn't be patriotic. I'm just saying, I wonder if people are looking at this in the early days without knowing everything and going, is this just more propaganda for another big war that's not really what we thought it was? Because to this day, I feel like we have never really been taught in school. And I wonder if people just don't understand it of like what World War I was ever really about. You know what I mean? It just seems like the world was trying to tear itself apart. And I wonder if people are just like, are we just doing the same thing where it's just like, we're going to 10 years look back at this war and go, why did Franz Duke Ferdinand, who the hell was that guy? Why did that start a war? You know? So
that's definitely what this feels like right now.
It does. Yeah. I mean, because that's the thing is like I remember being young after 9/11 and like really buying into like, we need to, put down Al-Qaeda. We need to do all these things. And now we're looking at it going like, it's just this another 20-year war of propaganda and people enriching themselves and all of these other things. Like, so I wonder, I feel like that works for every generation. You can fool them once and then, it's a lot harder the second time around. So, but yeah, anyway, moving on, I did notice that talking about propaganda, there's a new propaganda term out there for you guys. It's called directed evolution. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. We don't call it gain of function anymore. We call it directed evolution, which is somehow legal, apparently, according to Pfizer. Because gain of function actually is illegal in America. Do you want to explain what gain of function is to people real quick, Jess, in case they don't know?
So gain of function research is just research to understand how something works and then further develop it so you can understand how it might evolve in the future. So if you understand how a bacteria is resistant to a certain antibiotic, you constantly breed it until you get only the antibiotic resistant strain and then see how that can change over time so you can keep your antibiotics up with its DNA and RNA sequence. It makes sense to a certain extent to do some of that kind of research, but at the same time, you run the risk of it evolving in such a way that you can no longer control it, which was the concern with, I don't know how much we want to say.
Say whatever you want to say.
Schmaxine.
With the vaccine, and the China virus, because no one knew how.
You mean the one that definitely came from bat's soup from a bat that was in hibernation 700 miles away?
Exactly.
Okay.
Bat soup and the wet markets and all of that. So yeah, there's that possibility if it gets out. I mean, people are so stupid when it comes to handling scientific material. People don't know how to handle biological waste. You hire these techs who are just fresh out of college, fresh out of high school. They don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's an accident waiting to happen. And you can look at the good side and see, oh, we're going to try and keep up with what is coming out. But I don't know. I think the risks aren't worth it.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's why it's illegal in the United States. And then we've kind of found out over the last 2 to 3 years that doesn't mean a lot for people like Fauci, who will just go and tear beagles' faces up with fleas in other countries and stuff like that. Right. I mean, that's part of the whole Ukraine thing, I think, is that they have the ability to do this type of stuff, which is illegal here. But now we're finding out because of our good friends at Project Veritas that it
doing the Lord's
probably is going on here. It probably definitely is going on here, as all the conspiracy theorists are being proved right again in this video that came out yesterday. So let's check this out really quick.
Pfizer ultimately is thinking about mutating COVID?
Well, that is not what we say to the public. No, don't tell anyone this building. You gotta probably don't tell anyone. You gotta probably don't tell anyone.
I love how this happens, because we found out that every one of these major corporations and companies, all of the social media companies, and especially all the vaccine companies, have talks with their employees. They have like these seminars, essentially, that are like, if you go on a date, it's probably Project Veritas. You're kind of ugly. Nobody actually wants to date you. So get that through your head. And then these people never, like, they're just like, oh, first date, this person wants to know about my work. Let me impress them by just spilling the beans on every dark secret I ever had. I keep expecting Project Veritas as well to dry up, because people are going to get wise to their game.
That's
they never do.
That's
He's
part
so
of what
drunk.
made me think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, he's clearly drunk in this video.
Yeah. That's what made me think it was fake at first. Like, his gestures are so crazy. His voice is very elevated. And it's like, how could you really fall for this man?
I don't know, but he just don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody.
Right.
Let's see what he doesn't want people to know.
Exploring, like, now, you know how the virus keeps mutating?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we're exploring is, like, why don't we just mutate it ourselves so we could preemptively develop new vaccines, right? So we have to do that. If we're going to do that, though, there's a risk of, like, as you could imagine, no one wants to be having a pharma company mutating viruses. To be, like, very controlled to make sure that this virus that you mutate doesn't create something that, like, you know, it goes everywhere.
Something crazy.
Is the way that the virus started and moving on.
I like that part right there. They're just saying the other quiet part out loud. Like, everybody's been saying, I think that they're mutating the virus. I think that they're probably mutating the virus. Not only are they doing it, but they actually seem to all believe what the conspiracy theorists got banned off of Facebook and every place for 2 years ago believe, which is that this was, like you were talking about, Jess, a leak because they were not careful with their gain of function research. They took COVID has existed before 2019. Like, this is a type of strain, right?
Yeah,
like
it's SARS-CoV-2.
Right.
SARS-CoV-1 was a weaker strain that was out in like the 1990s.
MERS is also a form of COVID. Yeah.
Okay, PJ, I just want to correct you, because you said gain of function of what Pfizer was doing, and what they're doing is directed evolution, and the way that this is different is, like, let me just scientifically explain this to you, plebeians. Directed evolution is when you direct the virus to evolve to gain some function.
Gain some function.
Yeah, you evolve it to be better.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, they should have taught me that in school.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you guys were all stupid for saying that.
You're right.
Well, I guess it's just a nothing burger, but let's see what he says anyway.
To be honest, like, it makes no sense if this virus popped out of nowhere. Like,
Yeah, I know.
Meet Jordan Tristan Walker, a director.
All right, we don't have to watch the rest of it because it's going to be James O'Keefe kind of explaining what we were talking about. But yeah.
And you laugh at me, but that's literally what the guy does in the date. He's like, no, it's not gain of function research. It's just directed evolution.
Oh, do we want to forward it to that part? Is there more of this? Yeah. Hold on,
Right.
let me see. Yeah, you're right. There is some more of this. Let's check that out. Oh, what happened? There we go.
Different. I think it's different. It's like it's definitely not gain of function.
It sounds like it is. I mean, it's okay.
No, directed evolution is very different. Well, you're not supposed to do gain of function research with the viruses. Like, they recommend not. But you do like these like selected directional mutations to try to see if you can make it more potent.
Yeah.
So there is
Gain of function.
Literally
Mutating a virus to make it more potent. Directed evolution. Mutating a virus to make it more potent. But not gain of function.
But not gain of function.
Yes.
It's not gaining any function. It's just more potent. That's not a function.
No. Yeah. Conjunction, junction. What's your function?
What's
I
your
don't
function?
know.
Yeah.
research online about that. I don't know how that's gonna work. There better not be any more outbreaks, because like Jesus Christ.
The gentleman.
There better not be more outbreaks that we're causing, because that would be really bad if we caused more outbreaks by doing the thing that I'm admitting China did to start the thing. Yeah. How much did you guys watch this whole thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there other, because the whole video is 10 minutes with all the explanation. Was there other parts of it that I should bring up? Because I felt like those were the kind of the two main things.
That's the
in
main
this.
stuff. I mean, they get Dr. Malone in there to kind of explain the science and
Right.
and to get into it a little bit. So I mean, it's worth watching on your own time. But
Right.
yeah, I think we covered it.
Yeah, I didn't have time to pull this up because I saw it right before. So I'm going to try. One of us will try to pull this up throughout the show. But there is another video that was just released before we went live of James O'Keefe confronting this guy. And his reaction is kind of surprising. I don't know. But I also, if you want, you guys want to look that up really quick and then just let me know. I did notice that there's also some memory hole going on with this whole thing, because this dropped yesterday and Google already has no search results at all for Pfizer Project Veritas.
Insane.
None at all. Just there's nothing on the internet that would pop up with those 3 words in it that anybody would be interested in any way. I find that interesting. I'm trying to remember the last time this happened, because this is the 3rd or 4th time I remember this happening. I think the last time might have been recently with like Biden leaked documents or something like that when you searched it, or Trump Mar-a-Lago raid or something like that. Like these things, at a certain point, Google realizes that they can't control the narrative fast enough. And they literally say that here. Like, look at what it says. It looks like the results below are changing quickly. If this topic is new, it can take a while to have reliable sources to publish information. So we are not able to get ahead of the reporting. We're not able to get ahead of the truth. And because we don't have a large enough staff or something like that to censor and squash every single piece of information coming out, we're just going to shut down Google on this subject completely.
You know what's crazy is I got a similar message on the statue, the Ruth Bader
You
Ginsburg
did, really?
statue. It didn't shut everything down, but it was like, the results are changing rapidly. Are you sure you want to look, or do you maybe just want to come back later?
Do you want to come back after we curate the results and the answers that we want you to know, or do you want to be one of those terrible people that wants to know things without it being filtered through our yeah. Well, that's interesting, because do we have it? Okay.
I think I found it.
Okay.
The Hodge twins put it out.
Yes, here we go. Because what we were talking about with that does lead to another subject I want to get to, but I wanted to play this first. So this is James O'Keefe confronting this guy, and it's pretty interesting. So here we go.
Is this real life? I'm literally a liar. I was trying to impress a person on a date by lying. This is absurd.
Please don't touch me. Well, this is not. By the way,
Why are you doing
don't
this?
tell anybody.
To someone who's just working at a company to literally help the public. You up. You really did. Please bring the cops as soon as possible. I'm really very unsafe for you.
All right, so just so far, like he said, I'm just a terrible, awful liar, which is a great defense. And then I feel unsafe. How dare you? I'm working for a company that's helping the public. What are your thoughts? Because this gets worse, but I just want to hear what your thoughts are.
I want to see the
I feel like
rest.
he's scared.
Well, that's what I think too. Yeah.
Can you please unlock your door?
No, don't let them leave.
Please unlock the door.
Give me why
Give us our stuff. Please unlock. Please
Are we watching Real Housewives right now?
Holy crap.
unlock the door. Please unlock the door. Unlock the door. We're trying to unlock the door. Unlock the door.
Literally, this guy goes directly from I'm a piece of crap liar to I'm going to assault people and break their equipment. And it goes on. We don't have to play the whole thing, but I'm telling you, this guy has a look of fear in his eyes that tells me that I think he's very legitimately worried that if he doesn't convince the public that he is just a liar and they believe this story, that someone's going to Epstein him, so to speak.
I mean, he's at least going to lose his job. He's for sure lost his job.
Oh, he's for sure lost his job. I think that's
the least
done.
of his worries. Yeah.
But I think he already lost his job. I think that this fear is not, I've got a cushy job. I think this fear is like the type of fear for his life. Let me see. Let me see if I can forward to
Was
a part.
this clip right after the date, or was it a different day? Because he's wearing the same shirt.
This
Looks
was
like the same location.
This was today, or I think, because what happens is James O'Keefe well, actually, it might have been before he released it. I'm trying to figure out how James O'Keefe does this. He gets the footage, and then he goes to the person, and he always releases in that order. He releases the footage one day, and then the person's reaction the next day. So maybe you're right. Maybe his fear is partially for his job, because maybe this was filmed before or even directly after. I don't think it was directly after the date, because it looks like a different setting, and I don't think he's drunk in this. I think this is like they've combed through the footage, because he's bringing it to him and showing him the edited footage. So it has to be some days or weeks after.
Okay, maybe
right?
he just wears the same shirt constantly.
He might be, or it's just like happened to be in that rotation. You remember that Seinfeld episode where he's like, I see this girl like once a week, but she's always wearing the same clothes. Is it just like her rotation, or does she not change her clothes ever? Yeah. So
when you're a lab rat, I mean,
right.
I mean, a lot of like nerds in tech do the whole Steve Jobs thing and just wear the same thing over and over. I am sometimes tempted to do that. I wear a lot of similar stuff.
I'm one of those people. I wear black t-shirts. Like I've got more than one, but I pretty much, unless I'm wearing like a Last American Pubcast t-shirt or a Conspiracy Pilled t-shirt, I pretty much just wear black t-shirts. I don't know.
If I could find something that I liked enough to buy 5 of it, I would do it. But the only reason I have variation is because women's clothing is crap.
Fact check.
Guys are way simpler though. Like if I bought 5 of the same pairs of jeans that I liked and 5 of the same black t-shirts that I liked, that would be my whole wardrobe. I don't care. Like unless I'm wearing something that I care, like promoting something that I care about, or like a cool t-shirt. But like most of the time it's just plain black t-shirts, like the Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park thing. I don't know if you guys ever read that book, but that was kind of his whole thing. Anyway, he's just like, I don't have time to change my clothes. I'm just going to buy the same of everything, and it just saves me time. But yeah, no, anyway, so this must have been filmed before, because they released it one day and then the next. And I can't imagine they were able to get to him today to surprise him, obviously. If this thing is going viral, he's probably hiding or dead right now. But I think he's afraid that if this gets out, that they're going to do something to him. Don't you think? Isn't that what it looks like?
I'd be afraid of that.
I would.
I don't know, because we're looking at it from kind of the clear heads. And he, I think, is in the moment of finding out that he has been filmed.
Right.
So
it's a pretty violent reaction, though.
It is a violent reaction, but he is a evil person. So I don't know if I could conclusively say this is fear for his life, or if it's just, fear for his lifestyle, because we know how crazy these people are about their lifestyles. So could be both, could be either. I could go either way.
There's a little bit more of it here if you want to see this.
Door. Please unlock the door. 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 This is remarkable here. Thank you. Thank you. We're trying to unlock the door. Unlock the door. Unlock the door. Unlock the door.
Like that. It is not.
He just, he's smashing stuff, freaking out. So it could be fear for his lifestyle, but whether the threats are legitimate or not, I look at this and think this guy thinks he's going to get killed. I don't know. I mean, he just snitched on like a multi-billion-dollar company and a narrative that's been set up for years and decades.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's another part that I forgot about, where they actually do say out loud. He says out loud, this is a cash cow for Pfizer.
In the original video.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody knows it is. They can't be sued on it. It's everybody's being required to take it. I saw a video today, or an article today, saying and we've all heard these articles before, but they're just pushing it more and more that they really, 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 really want the COVID vaccine to be a yearly thing, just like your flu shot. That's why this year they're mixing it with your flu shot in a lot of places.
Wait, like you're getting the same injection, or they're mixing?
I don't know if it's the same injection, but they're doing them simultaneously.
Okay.
I heard it was mixed in some places because, like, you know how you get those when you have a kid, sometimes they'll put like 12 vaccines into one shot. You know,
I've always thought that was strange. Like, how are they not differentiating from one another? How are you not creating a new chemical mixture? How is that not?
That's part of the conspiracy, though. That's part of the conspiracy, though, is that it's
not
like when
even
you put
conspiracy.
20.
That's just knowing chemistry.
Yeah. But I remember this from when my kids were little. They're like, this vaccine will have 27 different vaccines in it or something crazy. And it's one shot. So like they've been doing that for a long time. So it wouldn't surprise me if they actually did just start mixing the COVID vaccine and they're not even vaccines. Like that's the thing about it. Like they had to change the definition of vaccine to fit flu or COVID. But yeah. Well, not flu, but COVID for sure.
That's worrisome from a for anyone who's gotten the vaccine, like me, it's like really hard on your body. Like you get so sick from you get a hard fever as if you have COVID for one night. So I was sick as a dog the night I got it, and that was like told to us that was going to be the case. So mixing that with another vaccine seems dangerous to me. Like it was a tough fever.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I know people will get, some people get mad if you say this, but I've always gotten incredibly sick after getting the flu shot, whatever. And I know that is possible. It weakens your immune system. It makes it so you could get other flus. I'm not saying that it itself gives you something, but I've always gotten sick every time. And in the military, I couldn't avoid it. I had to get it for 6 years in a row. And every single time I got it, I got sick. So if you mixed that with another thing that they're telling you is going to make you sick.
Yeah.
That seems like a really bad day.
It introduces a very small viral load into your body so your body can recognize the virus and build up an immunity to it. And when you're mixing all of these viruses together, now you're further weakening your immune system.
Right.
So you're susceptible to more. And then they do that to kids?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I've never had a flu vaccine.
I don't think they make sense for normal people anyway.
No,
like even if you believe in them, they make zero sense for your average person. They really should be anyway. If you believe that they work for old people or something, but normal people, I don't get the point of it. It's not like the flu is killing 20-something-year-old healthy people. But yeah, I want to get back to this whole thing about the Google stuff that we were talking about, where they're doing this whole thing as soon as a narrative comes out that they can't quash fast enough, that they just shut down all of Google. Now it seems like they're trying to build infrastructure to be able to avoid that problem and just instantly recognize any issues. And it goes back to the war with ISIS. So in this article from the Gateway Pundit, it says the government's campaign to fight misinformation has expanded to adapt military-grade artificial intelligence once used to silence the Islamic State or ISIS to quickly identify and censor American dissent on issues like vaccine safety and election integrity, according to grant documents and cyber experts. The National Science Foundation has awarded several $1 million in grants recently to universities and private firms to develop tools eerily similar to those developed in 2011 by DARPA, as if we've never heard of anything bad ever coming out of DARPA, in its social media and strategic communications program. DARPA said the tools would be used to help identify misinformation or deception campaigns and counter them with truthful information, beginning with the Arab Spring uprising in the Middle East that spawned ISIS over a decade ago. So isn't it great to hear your own government compare you to Islamic terrorists?
Yeah. Now,
Again.
Is this related at all to ChatGPT, or is this a completely different tech?
I'll be honest, I have really not paid attention to the ChatGPT thing. I've just been on so many other things. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So today I was at work, and all of a sudden my boss's office is right next to mine, and all of a sudden he's like, "What the fuck?" really loudly. And I like kind of ran into his office. I'm like, you okay? Is everything okay? He's like, Abby, look at this. He has Chat GPT pulled up. He's been playing it with it for like 2 days. He types in
Do you want to quickly tell people what Chat GPT is? Before I want to hear your story, but like just so for people who haven't paid attention to that story.
It's an AI that aggregates data from everywhere. I don't think it's plugged into the entire internet yet. So people think it's not nearly as smart as it will be, but it's plugged into a significant amount of data in the world, and you can ask it to write you a poem. You can ask it to write you a story. You can ask it to Jordan Peterson said he gave it some specific instructions and he couldn't tell that writing apart from his own.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I watched it today. So my boss gave a 1-paragraph instruction to the AI. Please write a letter to our supporters. Our nonprofit is thus and suchly military charity. It wrote a near perfect letter to our supporters that basically matched anything we have ever put out after like 2 weeks of edits. There were a couple things that were wrong in it. It just assumed a couple things about our organization that weren't true. So we were like, hey, we don't actually do clinical psychology type stuff. Please rewrite this. It took it out. It rewrote it perfectly.
That's crazy.
That is insane.
So many people are going to lose their jobs. People who went to college to learn how to write are going to be obsolete.
So this is iRobot,
the
movie. Like this is the thing we keep talking about is that they watch these movies and like, oh, wasn't this like a terrible future? And they're like, what if we try the same thing? But then we tell the public we had good intentions and we tell them the positive things. And it's like, that's also part of those movies where they're like doing the whole, this is the thing and it'll be good. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if it's predictive programming or if it's just like evil people or naive people who are just like too smart for their own good, like too smart and not wise, you know?
Yeah.
It's going to eliminate the middle class jobs. Most middle class jobs are going to be able to be replaced by Chat GPT. And even education.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Even education, like how do you assign your students to write? I mean, Jess, like even today, your students could be writing their essays with Chat GPT and you would be grading them 100.
That is 100% true. It's funny because the county that I work in requires students to be able to have a certain writing skill and submit essays for graduation. And they just this year moved all of that to online writing instead of handwritten essays.
That's even worse. That just makes it so much easier. So Abby, is what you're saying that now the middle class jobs like Google censoring all of us could just be handed over to the AI that the DARPA's inventing so they can just censor us even better?
Well, this is
those aren't middle class jobs though, but that was just a joke.
Yeah. Well, this is part of the problem at Twitter is that I don't know if did you guys read Dave Rubin's thread? Might be worth pulling up actually. Here.
Go ahead. I gotta walk out of the room for 1 minute. Go ahead and talk about it and I'll be right back.
Okay. So Dave Rubin got a chance to visit Twitter. And did you read this thread, Jess?
I haven't, no.
Okay, so he visited for I think like 2 weeks and frequently was talking to Elon, was talking to engineers, just getting an insider view of it all. And he wrote this, he asked Elon, what can I share? And Elon said anything that's true. And then Elon confirmed his thread after he wrote it. He's like, this is all accurate.
Oh, wow.
So he basically said it's a Rube Goldberg machine, that Twitter's code is a mess. And one of the reasons they haven't been able to figure out the shadow banning stuff yet is because it is just this incredible ball of nonsense where they're finding all of these types of shadow bans, things that they wouldn't have thought to look for, things that are not apparent, because the code is so very, very messy. And it's like some of it's AI, some of it's tags that were applied to accounts. And like Elon, it sounds like Elon very much wants to fix this free speech thing and fix the shadow banning thing, but the code is so messy that it's just taking a lot of time for them to unravel.
So do you think this is kind of like when the government rolled out the B-2 stealth bomber and they're like, yeah, this is a new bomber that we have. And then people start looking back at these old UFO photographs and reports and they're like, oh, you mean that thing that we've been seeing in the sky for 20 years? And then if you look at, Twitter, Facebook more accurately, everybody who worked on a DARPA project called LifeLog quit and then formed Facebook. So like this, the whole thing of like social media to control you. I'm not going to go into the whole conspiracy behind it because it's not really a conspiracy as much as fact of like DARPA had an idea to make social media. They would track everything about you. The project ended and then the people who worked on the project worked for Facebook. So my thought is if you're reading these stories about Biden saying DARPA is creating a way to censor misinformation, is it just like them announcing something they've been doing for 5-10 years and they're just like, we're going to really kick it into gear now. So we're going to pretend that it's a new thing. But really, Elon Musk buys Twitter and finds out, oh, this DARPA machine, this DARPA AI machine is shadow banning people. And I just don't have a lot of control over it.
Yeah. It's
That's scary that he doesn't have a lot of control over it because you would think that you could go into the technology and find a way to reprogram it or remove it altogether, whatever it's doing. But the fact that he is unable to do that is scary.
I think that he is able to. I think it's just going to take so much time to figure it out. Like he has to reverse engineer it basically because he doesn't know what it is and he's trying to not crash Twitter in the process. If he was willing to crash Twitter and rebuild it, that's a different story and he may end up having to do that.
Right. It's like a hard reset.
I didn't bring up this story, but not earlier. I saw it and I want to see if I can find it again. But it just makes me think that people are noticing that Elon Musk, who's already been a billionaire running all these companies forever, now has this crazy upgraded security team lately. And I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Like if it seems like the powers that be really wanted to keep anyone out from that wasn't playing ball with the AI censorship of everyone, right? Out of running Twitter. And then when it turned out that he got Twitter, I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the kidnapping risks and stuff like that, like people are saying. But I just wonder if it also has to do with just threats that he's getting from big government, DARPA, things like that. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot there, and I just want to sit and watch it happen because there's a lot of directions it could go.
Right.
I do
Go
kind of
ahead.
TikTok, even though TikTok is evil and Chinese, is helpful as a foil because it is a different technology completely. So it's interesting to see what China is suppressing and how they're suppressing it and what they're not. Like you can find all kinds of conspiracy stuff on TikTok. And I think that they have taken the route of like, just let all the conspiracies look ridiculous and not censor them. So it is a very
different route. And I find it funny because I saw another story today about Josh Hawley wanting to ban TikTok entirely, right? And like I understand the arguments against TikTok. I'm not saying like China's not stealing our data. I'm not saying it's a safe platform or anything like that. But I find it funny they'll put all this vested focus and interest into China might get my cell phone data and that's going to help them somehow. But it's okay that our own government censors us, breaks the First Amendment, spies on us. Like I'm way more concerned as a normal American. I totally understand the military government phones banning TikTok off of that. And I'm not okay with China spying on me either. But my point is I'm far more concerned with what our government is spying on me for than what China's spying on me for.
Well, who's to say that the government?
What's up, Tom? How's it going?
Yeah.
Enjoy your vacation. Don't watch the show, Tom.
Tom isn't here because I suppressed him with my suppression powers.
Yeah. I don't know if people missed it. Last week people were telling me and Abby that we were suppressing Elon Musk's free speech by disagreeing with him, which I find very interesting. Where was I going with all that though? What were we talking about? I totally lost my train of thought. Way to go.
There. Thanks, Tom.
Well, I brought up this article that Jess sent me, this Science Journal banned listing of ChatGPT as co-authors on papers. What's up with this?
All right. So this is the thing. If ChatGPT is going to replace the middle class, that also means that they're going to replace science, air quotes, science, trademark, all that. by writing scientific journals for the scientists. And there's already problems with scientists falsifying data. You can go back through the history of things put out by the CDC, by the FDA, by the EPA, and find that they have been hard falsifying data to get grant money from the government or from whatever entity that they need. Now they're going to use a chat AI to do it for them. That's extremely dangerous and disturbing.
Yeah, absolutely. I also noticed this comment here about Apple gave the feds Elijah Schaffer's data, but not the San Bernardino shooter data. I said from the very beginning, I remember everybody was getting mad that Apple wasn't giving the data to the government. And I was like, this seems like a way to get the public to demand that our data is given to the government from cell phones.
Yeah.
And a lot of people fell for it. I think Ted Cruz might have been one of the few who was like, this is a bad idea. Am I wrong on that? Or was he one of the people pushing for it? I just remember his name came up in this whole thing a lot. But people were like mad that Apple didn't want to give personal private data to the government. And it's like, on one hand, you can see it as in like, well, they're dead terrorists. And on the other hand, it's like, but in order to, the back part of the story was, in order for us to give you the dead terrorist data, we'd have to give you the back room login to our whole system. And it was interesting that this was put in the public so much to get the public to demand the government have the ability to monitor our phones. And now look,
that's predictive programming.
Oh yeah, it was a total. I mean, talk about 3D chess. That's 3D chess, like for real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and
4D
we
chess,
know that,
whatever people say. Yeah.
That our government is selling us out to China anyway. So what's the difference? What's the difference if TikTok takes our data or if our government takes it and then sells it to them?
Because then you cut out the middleman and they don't make their cut. So if China can just steal our data and the government can't steal it and sell it to China, then how are they going to get paid?
So true.
Yeah, it'd be like if I was just sending money to Ukraine instead of buying FTX so that politicians could get that money back.
It's not like we're sending pallets of cash to Ukraine, PJ. What are you talking about?
Right. Yeah. Was there anything about this Dave Rubin thread? I have this pulled up. I know you were talking about this earlier. Was there anything about this you wanted me to look at, or
I thought it
did you cover it?
I think we covered it pretty well.
Okay.
Just how did you feel about that?
I think it's interesting, first of all, that Elon Musk brought Dave Rubin in. That is really awesome that he was able to go there and just kind of see behind the scenes and all of that. And it is interesting to find how much deeper the rabbit hole goes with Twitter. The fact that it is being run by this iRobot being, essentially.
Yeah. There's so many metaphors I'm thinking of with this. I think people need to watch more sci-fi movies from like the 80s and 90s, and then they would understand everything that's happening right now. Maybe we should just do like a sci-fi movie marathon.
Let's do it.
Fun fact about iRobot: the book is nothing like the movie. Like nothing in the book.
I didn't even know there was a book. How is there a book?
It's a collection of short stories about the progression of robots and the psychology of robots. They're not evil. They never turn evil in iRobot. And when they appear to, they have a good reason to.
Oh man.
That is very
like
different.
A book series I need to read.
A lot of those good sci-fi movies and novels are very, very, very different in the point that they're trying to make. I've noticed. So
like
if you read any Philip
book, it's like super different.
Oh my gosh, it's way different. Like
super different.
I actually think that Michael Crichton was onto something really important with that Jurassic Park book, and then the movie was like, I mean, obviously
dinosaurs!
It's a movie, so it's just like dinosaurs, and it's like, but there was a deeper point to that book that that's totally lost. And honestly, I won't get into it, but like it really explains how we look at the climate change crisis today. Is like really explained well in that book. So if you want to understand how all of that's BS and how they can fake it, like Ian Malcolm's character in Jurassic Park really breaks it down in a really profound way. So anyway. Side note, but talking about books, there's another story that I thought was very interesting. Talking about books, trans artist spends hours rebinding Harry Potter books to remove author J.K. Rowling's name and gets a WAPO article for it. So I don't even have to read it. It's just like, hey, hey, you know that work that we all love so much, but we hate the author. We really want to steal this property from them and then exclude them from it because they disagree with us one time. And I can't believe this story has stayed in the news and in people's minds for so many years, and they're so agitated that this J.K. Rowling just won't bend the knee to the trans agenda in fully. It's not like she doesn't to some degree. It's like she won't fully bend the knee. She won't say two. She'll say 2 + 2 = 5. She won't say 2 + 2 = whatever the party tells me it equals. And that is like the whole thing that's just driving these people mad, where they're going to spend, I don't know, how much of a process is this? Like literally like shaving down these books, like making the binding, like what's the point of this? What's your thoughts?
So my thought on this, I don't know, might be a little bit different. I feel like in a way, J.K. Rowling kind of brought this upon herself. Like you were saying
I agree
earlier,
with that. Yeah.
She bowed to the mob the first time. And I think the first time was when she retconned Dumbledore to be gay. And then she kind of gave them that foothold. She gave the woke mob the foothold where, oh, now Harry Potter is this great sanctuary for all of us LGBT, LMNOP people to come and enjoy work of art. Because I guess before that point, there weren't, the wokeness in literature wasn't as prevalent as it is today. Now you walk into Barnes & Noble and you can't escape it. And everybody loves Harry Potter. I mean, there's theme parks about it. There's a new video game coming out about it. It's absolutely crazy. But now she's putting up a fight. Now she won't, like you were saying, now she won't say 2 + 2 = whatever the party says. She won't say she loves Big Brother, which if you want to hear more about that, you should go subscribe to Lit for next week's episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to tell people about that? That's coming up on Tuesday, right? I'm going to drop a link.
That is coming up on Tuesday. Very important episode. I'm excited. We're going to be talking about 1984, doublethink, Inksock, and how the government's controlling us. It's exciting if you've read the book or if you've heard about it at all. It's going to be a great episode. And I'm excited to be joined by Honest Matthew for that. So that'll be fun.
I just dropped that link in the chat. So if you guys are interested in that, that's streaming Tuesday at 7. So go and go subscribe to Jess's channel.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Texan's right. Not everybody loves Harry Potter. You're right. I should clarify, but it is a cultural phenomenon.
I don't either, but my point was that it is a cultural phenomenon. These people who are obsessed with it to the point they'll rebind books just to get rid of J.K. Rowling, like they love Harry Potter.
Right. And in a way, I feel very bad for them because they're dealing with whatever this darkness is that is inside them. They want to have something they can enjoy. But at the same time, they have so much hate in them that they'll destroy anyone who stands in the way. And because J.K. Rowling wasn't brave enough to stand up in the beginning, now she's catching all the fire.
Right.
I think it's that, and it's a little bit deeper in that the whole story of Harry Potter is about an outsider who doesn't fit in, who isn't treated right by his family, and that he goes and he finds his place and he finds his power. And I think for so many of the LGBTQ, LMNOP people, and really this whole a lot of the hurt and anger of the left does come from somewhere, right? And I think that a lot of the roots of leftism resonated with Harry Potter. And so for a lot of those people, it was such a special place. And that's not to say it's not a special place for people who are conservative thinkers as well.
Right.
But I think for a lot of them, Rowling was a god and Harry Potter was their Bible. And so when their religion failed them, it is a religious problem. It's a heresy for them. It's a deep problem.
That's such a good point because it is being treated the way that a lot of Catholics are treating the Pope right now. And I was actually going to make that point before you did. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who was thinking that it's like, it does seem like a religion to these people. And I feel like that's been my problem with Harry Potter for a long time. Isn't that I think it's bad. I've never read the books. I've seen the movies, whatever. And they're fine. I don't have any real problem with it. My problem is that the Harry Potter fans, not all of them, obviously, but the religious fans really irk me. There's just something wrong with it. You know what I mean? Or something wrong with a lot of these people where it's become so much of a religion to them that it's a turnoff for someone who's just like, I just would casually maybe enjoy it otherwise. So yeah, I think you're right on that. But did you have anything else you want to say about the Harry Potter stuff? I feel like I just stopped the show dead with that. I know you guys like Harry Potter, so I'm not trying to crap on it.
No, I mean, I really want to do a whole episode of Lit about this specific phenomenon, about the religious obsession of the fans with Harry Potter. And I mean, Harry Potter does have traditional underpinnings. I mean, there are good values to be found in Harry Potter. Right. It's a hero overcoming a very great evil. He is given a responsibility he doesn't even want, but he's carrying it anyway. There's important things to be said about a story like that, but they're taking it the wrong way. They're getting obsessed with the world, the magic, the getting sorted into different houses like it's a personality test.
Literally, it is on Facebook. Yeah,
it literally is. And they are using it to define their personality. And because J.K. Rowling's like, oh, it's a story, you can't use it to define your personality, and you can't use me to define, or saying her, the author, to define your personality, they're losing their ever-loving minds.
This happens a lot, and it always really annoys me as someone who's really into literature and storytelling, and I feel like I understand the elements of a story a lot better than the average viewer, just like I think you guys do as well. There's these stories that are so important and so impactful, and then the entire society takes them the exact opposite way. And two things that come to my mind is I expected the new Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix to be a praise, basically praising the underdog, the villain, right? Like we see this all the time. All these movies are like, the villain is the good guy. I went and I saw it and I was like, oh, this is a movie about what a loser he is and how all of these other losers are following him. And it's kind of like representation of Antifa, really, if you watch it. Right. And I was like, it doesn't ever make him a sympathetic character. He's actually a bad person and other bad people are following him. And yet everybody's taken this and made this meme of like, if I'm smart enough, if I'm woke enough, I'm the Joker in that scene with him and Robert De Niro. And I'm like, you didn't get the movie at all. And then what's worse than that is Fight Club. Everybody's like, there was a time where people were actually going out in the streets and they were like doing all these acts of anarchy. And they're like, Fight Club is a pro-anarchy movie. I'm like, Fight Club is a movie about people without purpose. Fight Club is a movie about what greatness can do to someone if they have nowhere to direct it. It really is this Abraham Lincoln quote. I won't go into it, but the whole idea is like someone like Abraham Lincoln and someone like, I'm trying to remember who was the general of the Confederates. Help me with this.
Robert
E. Lee. Yeah. Someone like Lincoln and Robert E. Lee are both great men, as in that they wanted to do great things. They had greatness thrust upon them, but that one was used for good and one was used for ill, right? Like the idea is that if you don't direct your desire for achievement, for greatness, whatever, and that's not a moral thing, into the right avenue. And the movie literally says these people have nothing. They have no war. They have nothing to stand for. They're living in this world where there's no purpose, no meaning. So they're going to use that desire for greatness to do awful things. And then people watch Fight Club and they're like, I'm Tyler Durden, and he's the anti-hero good guy of the story. I'm like,
he's the villain of the whole story, and the book goes even more into that.
It really, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So those things always annoy me. People will always take the wrong message away from movies and books when it's pretty apparent. But that's sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now.
I think people will take what they want to take.
Yeah.
I grew up thinking if I could just say things the right way, if I could just be perfectly persuasive, I could always win someone to my way of thinking. If I have the truth and if I say the right thing, I don't believe that anymore. I think you can say absolutely the right thing and people will always find a way to believe what they want, and people move and change their minds far less than anyone thinks.
Right. Yeah, I think that's true. So let's see. We also there's another story that's been coming up a lot lately. I want to get into this one a little bit. It seems like everybody and their mother, I don't know if you guys do, I'm sure Abby does, has classified documents in their home, just hanging out.
Yeah.
It's been so weird. It's like, does every politician have classified documents that they just steal? And they're just like, oh shoot. Yeah. Now that they decided to open that can of worms by raiding Mar-a-Lago, it's like all the people who are pointing fingers at him also have documents. So now it's come out that Mike Pence also had classified documents in his home. And there's some interesting tweets on this. Is breaking: Mike Pence find classified documents in his Indiana home Weird how suddenly everyone is finding classified documents in their home. 0 days since top secret documents mishandled.
I like that.
Which brings me back to like, is it mishandling or have the rules genuinely changed?
No, I don't think the rules have changed. I think this was just like the rules did change with Hillary Clinton, but in the opposite way, right?
There's the written rules and the unwritten rules. It seems like the unwritten rules have changed. It used to be perfectly acceptable in the unwritten rules to take classified documents home.
Of course it was. Of course it was. The Clintons, like, they took like the furniture and the plates and the everything, and they took documents. Obama moved 30 million classified documents to his library in Chicago. Like, this was the unwritten rule. It was always illegal. Oh, well, kind of. If you're a president, I guess there's like that loophole. But my point is, like, this was a thing that they were all doing in the open for a long time. And then they're like, well, we need something about Trump. And then they go after Trump. And then it's like, yeah, but the rest of us were kind of doing that too. And we really don't like that it's being pointed at us now. I find this one interesting. This tweet from Edward Snowden. How is it possible that I have fewer classified documents in my house than the last few White House administrations?
Savage, Edward.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that, Jess?
It doesn't matter. Honestly.
It's all just stupid.
It's all just stupid. We know they're going to take home whatever they want to take home. Is it really impacting us in any way? Okay, they might sell it to Russia. Russia already has everything that Russia's going to want at this point. So, I mean, you know.
You have a very jaded and black pill take.
I do. I don't know. I'm kind of negative today. I just don't think it, compared to all of the more important things going on in the world, this legit doesn't even really matter.
Yeah. What do you think, Abby?
I think it's weird how common it is for the left to use a tactic to hurt the right, and then it just comes right back on them 1,000 times worse.
It always happens. Yeah, I find it funny. Yeah, and again, like this one, obviously Mike Pence, so it's right wing, but I know people have feelings about Mike Pence.
But they'll never look at Obama. They've already ignored Hillary.
The Clintons,
so exactly. So
well, James Comey changed this whole thing. Like on one hand, I actually agree with your kind of jaded view on this whole thing. Like whatever. But on the other hand, it's like okay, but on a serious note, there are privates in the military who are getting absolutely, literally sent to Leavenworth for taking the wrong photo. You know what I mean? Like that actually happens. So if we're going to treat it, to me, it's like the aristocracy versus the plebeians. And we're all just going, well, it doesn't matter if the aristocracy breaks the rules, but we're just going to ignore every story of this PFC spending 5 years in Leavenworth over taking a selfie in the wrong area of, I shouldn't say PFC because it's Navy, whatever. Seaman taking a freaking selfie in the wrong part of a naval ship, right? Which actually happened. So, like, it bothers me on that. And it bothers me that James Comey came out in 2016 and was like, Hillary Clinton didn't mean it, though. Like, yeah, she put our national security at risk. Yeah, she broke the law, actually broke the law. But now we're going to add this other cool thing, which is intent, which is not a part of criminal law.
I didn't know that about if military personnel were taking pictures. That is truly not equal justice. And we know there's a multi-tier justice system. The elites always get off easier than us regular plebes, but still that's not right. That's not just. And something should be done about it, but what can be? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like this from Saltzilla, but was he doing duckface? I mean, if so, probably I would be okay with the Leavenworth charges. Yeah, that's fine. But I think that it actually points to a systemic issue. Yeah. And I almost didn't bring up this clip to play for you guys because when I first heard it, I was like, wow, this is damning. I should expect to see more people posting this, and nobody did. So then I looked it up again today. It took me a minute to find it, and I started looking. Well, where's the fact checks? Because like maybe someone actually can link to me, like, not that the fact checks are ever right, but maybe someone out there is like, this is obviously a fake. This came from this came from that. I find it even more interesting when the fact checkers don't fact check something and then it just gets censored. And then the main voices on the right ignore it, because that to me feels like a lot of a lot of collusion to bury something that's very true, that is very inconvenient for everyone to acknowledge. And I'm just going to play you guys this 45-second phone call, this supposed leaked phone call. I don't know if it's real or not, but my point is, if it was fake, if it was really obviously fake, I feel like you would see people debunking it. And I find it funny that nobody's even talking about this at all.
Hey, pal, it's Dad. Look, I don't think they're going to get off my ass about these documents. I know that there's at least, I want to say, 5 more places that I can remember that they are.
So I know it's a little hard to hear. That's Joe Biden's voice on a phone call to Hunter Biden saying, hey, pal, I don't think they're going to let me off with these classified documents. I know of at least 5 other places that they are.
Listen, use the red cell phone. Call up Barack and Michelle. Tell them Operation Crash and Burn is a go.
Use the red cell phone, call Barack and Michelle, and tell them Operation Crash and Burn is a go.
Yes, immediately, please. All right, love you, pal. Bye.
What do you think? Do you think this is? I think this could at least has the potential of being real.
At least it's not Operation Blue Crash and Burn.
Blue Crash. Every operation has blue in it.
Right.
That's how you know this one's fake.
Right.
It's really weird that even people who latch on to stories aren't latching onto it. And maybe the reason why people like Ben Shapiro and them all haven't is because they can't verify. Can't verify it. And maybe that's the problem. But I don't know. It's strange.
But you'd think there'd be like some sort of fact checker or some sort of Media Matters out there going, oh, that's not real. You know, it's a deep fake or something like that. But you said
John makes some good points.
I get what Abby's saying about like people not wanting to latch onto it without being able to verify it. But on the other hand, Jess, I think you're entirely right too. Like, where's the fact checkers? Where's the people saying this is fake? Like Snopes doesn't even have to do any work to say things are fake. They do this all the time. I've read so many Snopes fact checks that are like, this is fake because we don't have evidence that it's real. And they do that all the time. That happened to me recently on a video. I said, hey, I think this is what's going on with Ukraine and FTX. And they said, well, it hasn't been proven that it's true, so it's fake. Which is not how things work, by the way. It's not how things work.
Counterpoint for 2 reasons. It's fake. Here are the 2 reasons. 1, no way Joe Biden had the cognitive ability to get through that phone call. That's not Joe Biden. That's just
Joe Biden's body double. Yeah,
which
exactly.
Joe Biden?
Yeah. Because that's not the one that
is it cancer Joe Biden? Is it deep fake Joe Biden?
And 2, Snopes has not fact checked it false. Therefore, it is false.
Well, so if Snopes doesn't fact check it as false,
catch-22, yeah.
It's false. And if Snopes fact checks it as false, it's false. So no
if
matter what,
Snopes fact checks it false, it's true.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We know it's false because they didn't fact check it.
See, I would just come out and say it's true if Snopes fact checked it false. But the fact that Snopes never fact checked it, it feels like another one of those times. And I don't want to get too conspiratorial here, but there's a few things that I have come to fully believe 100% are real that people will not touch on any side of the political aisle. They won't fact check it. They just bury it and never ever talk about it. And I'm starting to get the sense that those are the most true. Or the most damning things that are true, I should say. Maybe not the most true, but the things that are true and also so damning that it's better to pretend it never happened than to come out and expose it by, like, if Snopes fact checks it, people are going to see it. If they don't fact check it, I had to go on Rumble and find this. It took me a minute. You know, it wasn't like apparent. It wasn't something that one person sent it to me. I went and looked back through our messages. It was deleted off of Instagram. Like,
whoa,
really weird stuff, you know?
That is weird.
Which is it then that it would be damning to the right as well?
I think so. I mean, obviously, look at Mike Pence. Mike Pence was the one who was most recently found with documents. I think it's damning to both sides, and they want to shut it up. Because at first it was like, well, Trump had the ability to declassify. Then it was, but Biden was vice president. He didn't have the ability to declassify. And then Mike Pence was also vice president and didn't have the ability to declassify. And there's a lot of people with these documents, and maybe we should, on all sides, just shut up.
What's on the document?
That's exactly what I was about to say. What is so damning that is on these documents that is getting everybody so nervous?
That's what I
What
want
is
to know.
on what is on these documents that, like, okay, if I have an important document for work and then I don't have my job anymore, the first thing I'm doing is clearing my stuff out and sending all the crap back where
Right.
it's supposed to go. I don't want that cluttering up my house. What is on the documents that they have any desire to keep it after the job's over?
It's one of
That's
two
what I
things.
wanna
It's
know.
either accidentally kept things like old notes, pictures you took with people, things like that, or it's really damning evidence that you don't want anyone to find ever again. And I don't think there's really an in between there.
No, I don't think. I think it's a mixture of the two, because I can
Right.
definitely see the one side where it's like, yeah, this was something I had in my briefcase, and who gives a crap?
I just forgot about it.
If
It's
you
junk.
if you've ever worked for the government, it's like paperwork is, like
Right.
they love that stuff. Is my point. You have to fill out 5 forms. I'm not making this up. You literally have to fill out. Shouldn't say 5. I'll be completely accurate here. 3 forms in order to clean a scope off of a M4. Like, you have to fill out the form that shows that you checked it. A PMCS is what it's called, preventive maintenance checks and services. Then you have to fill out a form that for whatever parts or repairs it needs, and then you need to fill out another form that says that it's good to go. Something like that. I remember filling out 3 forms for each rifle's scope that I checked one day. It's an incredibly long process, and then there's probably a final form to say that you checked them all and this is how many are good, and these it's a stupid amount of paperwork for everything you do. So that part I could see. And on the other hand, I think they're keeping documents they don't want people to ever see. They're just like, if this is not in the records, they can't FOIA request it, right?
Why is the DOJ going after them now? Why now?
I think they made a mistake. I think they went after Trump because they wanted Trump so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then that opened a can of worms, and they're trying to shut it up. Because if only Trump goes down, cool. And then the second, I actually think that with Biden, they were like, well, how can we strengthen the Trump argument? I know, we'll take Biden down too, because screw him anyway. He's just a puppet. And that'll really strengthen our, I really think they wanted to, I think they were willing to sacrifice Biden to take out Trump. But now that it's spreading outside of those two, I think now it's the time to shut it down.
Is Pence really so important to them that he's not also a part of the play to strengthen the Trump argument? He was part of the Trump administration.
I think Pence was always there to control Trump, just like Bush was always there to control Reagan, though. I think they're deep swamp. What do you think, Abby?
I've met Pence. Heard him speak in a fairly intimate setting, and I thought he was a good man. People are good actors. People are good actors. People know how to say the right thing. But I remember leaving because I wasn't a fan of Trump. I voted for him, but I wasn't a fan of Trump until that day. And then I was like, if he has a man like Pence beside him who loves the Lord, first openly pro-life vice president we've ever had, like incredible support for our friend at North Arrow, March for Life. Most people, when they talk about Pence being evil, they talk about how he didn't, he certified the election. And at the time, I have a hard time looking at that and seeing that he had any other choice. Or that even if he made the wrong choice, that it was a particularly evil thing.
I don't think you have to believe that Pence is evil to think that he's connected, though. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, I'm overstating it, but I don't know. I don't necessarily have a reason to believe he's deep swamp, and he has so many other, like, surprisingly good qualities.
Or it just could be like another way to look at it could be, who does he have dirt on? You know what I mean? Because this is a domino effect.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as it's one person, it's like, well, if I'm exposed, you're exposed, and if he's exposed, he's exposing you. So, like, all these people have dirt on each other. Everybody's like, no matter how good of an individual anybody is in Washington, they're all a little dirty, and they all definitely know things that they don't want other people to know. Like, that's how I look at it. That's just my thought on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think that if they, I don't know. It's tough. I'm not unwilling to believe that that Pence is a swamp creature, but it's tricky because he has some proof in the pudding type. Like Trump
Right.
himself isn't pro-life, and Pence is pro-life, and to me
Right.
that's such a big deal.
yeah. Yeah, Trump's latest thing we don't have to get into the whole thing, but that was really gross. That whole like, well, it would have been better to let the babies continue to die so we can win more elections. I'm not behind that at all.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
And
that's when Trump turned me off to him. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see people asking about Tom and why we're not on Rumble. Tom is on vacation. He forgot that he was going on vacation, and he's our guy who handles Rumble and Odyssey. So apologies to everybody why we're not on Rumble and Odyssey and why Tom's not here. Everything's good. Things are fine. It's just that it was kind of we all forget things. So it's all good. Yeah. But we will be back on Rumble and Odyssey, and I'm sure we'll upload this one to those as well. Just didn't have the ability to put it out there tonight while we were live. So it's weird. Yeah. We don't really get behind the scenes stuff, but Rumble and Odyssey are kind of a pain to set up for every single live stream. It's not like YouTube where it's just a button. So hopefully those things will be fixed in the future. Talking about Trump, did you guys see that they're going to end his account suspension through Meta, aka Facebook and Instagram? That's what they're saying.
Interesting.
It says they're ending the suspension of Trump's Facebook and Instagram accounts within the coming weeks, but they've put up new guardrails in place to deter repeat offenders, and the public should be able to hear what politicians are saying so they can make informed choices. So that's kind of like Meta's whole, 3 takeaways. You don't have to read their whole article, but that's what they're saying. And I find this interesting, and I wonder what you guys think of it. Like, what do you think it means? Yeah, go ahead, Abby.
He tweeted that he truth socialed that thing about abortion.
Babies?
Blaming the babies for losing midterms. They realized that they finally realized that the best way to defeat Trump is to let Trump talk. So they're letting Trump talk. I
think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think the fact that he won't let go of how much he loves the jab and how babies living are, it's better that we keep killing babies so we can win elections. Like, I think those two things alone are going to sink him enough that they're, at least in their mind, whether it does or not, they're looking at that going, oh, wow, Trump really does, like him speaking really does hurt him a lot of the time. And I know a lot of Republicans don't like that fact, but it is true. And I think like some people were reticent to like, no, his Twitter's good. And it's like, I think it is a lot of times, but he also does a lot of damage to himself. And I think you're right, Abby. I think they've realized it.
I mean, there's a reason why Ron DeSantis is so appealing to so many people. He has the pushback against the swamp like Trump, but he doesn't trip and fall and kick himself on a rake like Trump does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question about Pence. Sorry to...
Go ahead.
Would anyone hate Pence if Trump hadn't told us to hate Pence? Just based on his actions alone and his words and actions, if Trump hadn't told us he was a traitor?
I think it's just, I mean, that's a good point. But I also think that like there's a lot of people who are looking at Pence going, like had already had suspicions about him. I feel like a lot of it just comes back to like Trump's been compared to Reagan a lot, and whether you like Reagan or not, I think Reagan is actually the same as Trump in a lot of ways, where it's like we want to forget the bad things Reagan did, like how he actually helped sponsor bills to take away people's guns. Like I know a lot of people in the 2A community who really don't like Reagan, but there's definitely a rosy-colored glasses looking back at him going, he was great for all these reasons. I'm not saying he wasn't, but like there's certain issues that people are single voter issues on. Ours would be, I think the three of us, we could all say abortion is a single voter or single issue voter thing for all of us.
Right.
That people want to ignore. So I feel like if you're making that comparison, you're looking at George Bush Sr. and you're going, that guy was CIA, we trusted him, and now we're looking at the Bush family a little bit differently. A lot of us are, I think. I definitely am. So I feel like maybe that suspicion alone, and then having that confirmed of like people are just ready to say, hey, we're sick of being screwed over. We know something was fishy, and if you're not going to stand up for that fishy thing, our suspicions of you are confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah, I'm seeing the chat. I hear you guys. I think I was I was much more of a normie in those days, so I wasn't paying attention to anything Pence was saying other than when I heard him speak in person. And in person, what I heard was really, really good. So, but yeah, good points all around. Thank you guys.
I really liked Pence, by the way, for a long time. So I had those suspicions too, but I really liked Pence for a long time. It does make me question him a little bit. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just like being duped so many times by people who are really good at speaking, that say all the right things and then kind of when it comes down to the wire, they don't stand up for their principles. Maybe that's that. I don't know. I definitely think there's more hate for Pence based on Trump and based on people's emotions over January 6th and stuff like that than probably warranted to him. But
yeah,
I don't blame people for thinking there's a strong possibility of him being kind of slimy, kind of swampy. I don't know.
He's
I could be wrong.
More
Could be wrong.
establishment than Trump is.
I want to like Pence so much because he's better on principles than Trump is, and I think that's why he was the VP, because Trump needed someone who was more grounded in their principles and more grounded in Christian faith than Trump, who with his 2 Corinthians stuff, right? And Stormy Daniels and things like that. Like he really needed someone like Pence to win, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I heard him speak in 2020, and he was asked the question whether he'd ever run for president. And at the time he was like, I really don't know. And it almost seemed to be a probably not kind of an answer. And I think you could tell even then that he wasn't going to have Trump's support, and he would have needed it if he was going to do that. So,
yeah, I don't know exactly what this comment means. It says Pence and Fauci were over the COVID response. I think what you're saying is like you didn't like Pence's COVID response. I didn't like Trump's COVID response anybody. Like that's the thing is I feel like Trump gets away with a lot of things because he's kind of been elevated to a messianic figure. Not to say that Trump wasn't a great president, not to say that he wouldn't be again. I'm not even making that claim right now. I'm just saying like it does bother me that things get overlooked. I think that truth or whatever about the babies was such a turnoff for me where I was just like at this point I would just almost prefer anybody to someone who would say it's okay to kill babies if we can get a few more seats to do what with. Like his greatest accomplishment as president, bar none, was putting Supreme Court justices in place to overturn Roe v. Wade. And the fact that he can't see that really bothers me. It's a huge turnoff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point of like every time I look back, I'm like, that is the one thing I cannot take away from him. I have some criticisms of him. I hope there's part of me that hopes he doesn't run again, but I can look back and I can say he did this amazing thing for America. And then he's like, screw you. I wish that hadn't happened. And it's like, oh, all right. Then.
Yeah. I feel like you just, whether he cares about abortion or not, he would have been better to take it on the chin that we lost a few more seats in 2020 or 2022 than we wanted to. And that people are still praising him for being the president who ended Roe v. Wade.
Right.
Imagine if after midterms he had tweeted, look, you guys, I know this was disappointing. I know that this is probably due to increased voter turnout because of Roe v. Wade. It was worth it.
Right.
That would have won him the presidency in 2024, hands down.
100%.
That's all it would have taken.
100%.
I really think so. I think that was whether beyond what he thinks or believes. Like this is the thing about Trump too, is I've always kind of given this defensive. It doesn't matter what he believes. It matters what he does. So, like, you can look at Trump and be like, he's kind of a slimy billionaire playboy. But did he overturn Roe v. Wade, essentially? Did he do this? Did he do that? Was the economy good? Like, that's how someone like me, who cares a lot more about morals than I think someone like Trump does, was able to justify Trump as in like, well, I don't think he's a very moral person, but look what's happening. Look what he's doing. Right.
And this is why I'm deeply conservative. I love our cause. Sometimes I want to take conservatives and just shake them because it's like, what's the point of being conservative if we don't want to conserve babies? If we're mad that we overturned Roe too soon after 50 years because we didn't do as well at an election as we wanted to. What's the point?
It's a very cold way to look at human life, by the way. Is to be like, well, let's see how many babies can we afford to sacrifice to win our political goal. Like that, it's the real human babies, by the way, is my point. Like you have to look at this as a real individual human cost issue. You know, it becomes a statistic to people at some point instead of a reality of what we always, what all of us, I think, say abortion is murder. Well, then every single child is valuable and that matters. So ending any abortion at all is not is a worthwhile goal. So yeah.
Abortion is ultimately sacrificed to Baal. Baal is the prosperity god. He's the success god. That's why you see the bull statue on Wall Street. That is a statue to Baal. Sacrificing babies to Baal has always been part of Baal worship. When, as conservatives, we are content and arguing to sacrifice babies to win elections, we are participating in the same worship of Baal as the people we say we hate.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I 100% agree. It's a frustrating argument. Yeah. Anyway. So moving on a little bit, I know one of the things that we've talked about on this show a lot is this whole, because it's just hilarious. Like it just is this whole Paul Pelosi hammer attack thing. And I am sitting here like, you know how you get excited for a release of a new book or a movie or a video game. And when you were young, you would get in line at GameStop for the midnight release of Skyrim or something like that, like I did because I'm a nerd. Wow. I want to get in line for the midnight release of the Paul Pelosi attack video. I cannot wait for the body camera footage. I guess it's not the attack itself, the body camera footage, because a judge ordered the release of body camera video and the 911 call from the Paul Pelosi attack. And
do you really want to see him naked, though?
Well, no, but I just think it's so funny. It's like Borat. It's like maybe there's some parts that are funny. You just overlook the male nudity. That's a bad example because I hated Borat. But you know my point.
It's like Bros. It's like
no. Don't go there. Don't go there. I never saw Bros. This is a malicious rumor that's been used to hurt my credibility.
I think at some point you just need to go watch Bros just to make it true, and then.
Gosh, no, please don't.
We need to make a bet with him on something that we know he's gonna lose to get him to watch it.
Oh, you guys, the chat's talking about Skull and Bones. I'm sorry, DeSantis is in Skull and Bones, and so is Ronald Reagan.
Yep. That's the thing. It's like it sucks sometimes to be a conspiracy theorist and into politics because you're like, I want to win this political battle and I believe in these virtues and these views and these morals. And then you're like, oh yeah, but also that person that's espousing those and even making good changes in Florida is also part of Skull and Bones and the elite and, you know, whatever you want to call them, lizard people, the Illuminati. It makes it frustrating.
I'm going to say something nice about Trump.
What?
At least he wasn't in the Illuminati, right? Or the Skull and Bones,
he's not in any secret societies. Possibly because he's too much of an asshole to get invited, but he's not.
But isn't that like, that is the selling point of Trump, right?
Yeah.
It really is. It is like the selling point of Trump over DeSantis is DeSantis has governed Florida better than any governor I've seen in my lifetime. Also, he's in the Skull and Bones. At least Trump is not. And like that, like when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, like that is factoring into a lot of people's minds. Factors into my mind where it's like, I feel like I'd be duped in some way to be like, well, look how this person does. Also, what's going to happen when they get that higher level? Because that happens so often, right?
And this is where I think that if you're going to be a thoughtful person, you have to just take people as mixed bags. Everyone's a mixed bag. Yes. Everybody has deep flaws, incredible flaws. Like the Bible says that all our righteousness is as filthy rags. Like everyone is a shit person. Everyone on the screen is a shit person, and everyone has, you know, especially a lot of people have, especially PJ.
Especially
people like Jess have a lot good to offer.
Oh, thanks.
But not me. Yeah. Look, it's no secret that I'm a shit person, but with Jess, it's like you look at her and you're like, she's a wonderful, nice person. She's also still kind of shit.
No, I'm definitely a shit person. If some of you guys knew some of the things in my past, you'd be like, oh, I don't want to listen to her anymore.
Oh,
but well, that's just life. We all have
It's all of
stories
us
like that, you know.
This is the fundamental difference between the right and the left, is that at least the way I see it, or at least between the Christian right and the atheistic left, if you want to go like to extremes, right, is like on the left, it's people are good and getting better. And then on the right side of the aisle, it's like, yeah, everybody sucks.
Yeah.
And like that is a fundamental understanding of the Bible that I think a lot of people, I've seen a lot of Christians think that, well, people are basically good. And it's like, did you read have you met a person? Like,
yeah. And so I have no problem voting for Trump and saying, look, I don't like so many things about him, but I think he's the best choice. Absolutely. He has my support. I've even donated to his campaigns before. Only politician I've ever donated to. And I can look at Ben Shapiro and be like, I think he does so much good. Don't agree with his take on certain things. And that's okay. And I think so many people will just unfollow you the minute you say something they don't agree with. All they want is to hear their opinion coming out of your mouth instead of considering something else. And I think we just need to be more thoughtful than that and recognize you're going to disagree with people. And that doesn't mean that they're not like worth listening to or supporting or whatever.
Life is more complicated than black and white. And we want to have one side or another, but that's just not how real life works. I don't know where we got this notion that it should be one thing or another, but it makes all of life hard, not just politics. It makes every aspect of life hard. Friendships, family, all of it. You got to take the good with the bad.
Yep, I think so too.
Unless it's Hillary Clinton.
That's a great point.
She's a demon.
Yeah, unless it's Hillary Clinton.
Fair. Is she actual demon?
Well, I feel like there also are like fundamental things that make someone good or evil too, right? So like
there's true good and true evil.
I think on the good side, like you've got everybody actually kind of sucks, but there is people who have fundamental understandings, fundamental things that they hold to, right? That can make them at least somewhat good. Not in the way that like I think people think of like where we want to deify human beings, which I think is ridiculous on all sides. And then there's also people who are just fundamentally evil, like Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So I got another story for you guys. This is since we're just going all conspiracy pilled tonight anyway. There's a conspiracy out now about Damar Hamlin's body double, and I gotta say it's kind of convincing. So
it's compelling.
It is. He could dispel this in an instant if he would just come out, make a video, talk to someone, and just show his face, not in a shadow or whatever. He'd be like, hey guys, I'm alive. It's all okay.
Right. So for people who don't remember, Damar Hamlin was the football player for the Bills that was tackled lightly and then died of supposed, like everybody became an expert, and he died of like that one insanely rare thing where you punch someone in the heart and their heart stops, which is never happens. So people were obviously thinking this was yeah, it's definitely not the vax. That's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, so there was a lot there was news stories saying he woke up and he asked if they won the game, which sounds fake as crap. I'm not going to lie.
Fake.
It sounds so fake. That's like my first indication this was all fake. And then there's video that came out of him in the press box. Let me see if I can find this.
Until you show me a picture of his.
That's loud. There's footage of him kind of going to the press box, and no, this isn't the right one. Sorry, this is a different one. But basically, you don't see his face. He's not got the oxygen tank like they say he's got to have. There's other videos of him going to the press box, but he's got this hood on, and you never see his face. And he's always looking at the window. Like no one is really seen or heard from in any clear way, in any press conference way, or video or Instagram post. Nothing where you really see his face and hear his voice. And it's starting to it's been a long enough time now where it's like you said, Jess, he could dispel this like right now. He could literally Instagram himself in like 5 seconds, which I find interesting.
My only devil's advocate to the position is that maybe something happened when he woke up. Maybe you get Bell's palsy sometimes, and maybe his face doesn't look right, and he doesn't want people to know about it.
Do you get Bell's palsy from getting hit in the chest?
No.
That's another conversation.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, one of the wasn't that a side effect of the erects?
No idea.
The schmaxine?
The schmaxine?
I think it's a side effect of getting tackled lightly and dying for 9 minutes.
Dying. Or of having a stroke.
Yeah. just like, I think that's the only way you can explain him being alive is if he has some sort of Bell's palsy. Because contrast this with Jeremy Renner, who had a horrible accident where a vehicle ran over him, and he took a photo from the hospital to show he was okay. It looked awful.
Yeah.
But he just wanted to update his fans that we haven't seen anything like that from Damar with how many people cared to know, I think is pretty telling. And then to have this weird, shadowy, not showing up with his oxygen tank. It's weird that he's just walking around. I think the oxygen tank bit is more compelling to me than covering his face.
Yeah.
I agree. I also like to play devil's advocate a little bit. I can understand like just wanting to be left alone, but on the other hand, I think you guys are right. Like these people have large followings, large fans that are concerned. People have been praying for him and wishing his family all kinds of wishing them well and praying for them. And it's like I feel like most of these people who are in the public spotlight understand that, especially a lot of athletes understand that. Where it's like these people care. They really care. People become obsessed with football in a way that I'll never understand, but they truly care about every player and they want to know. So like it is a little weird to me. I also saw this part of the conspiracy, which I find very interesting. Damar Hamlin was born in McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania. His parents are Mario and Nina, and there's a death record from McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania for a Damar Hamlin the day that he was tackled. So it's like when you add in that someone from his hometown with his same name died that day, that's a little weird. It's a little weird. It's not like it's not like Damar Hamlin is not John Smith.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a million John Smiths die every day. How many?
That's
Damar
pretty.
Hamlin?
The other
thing it's pretty compelling, isn't it?
I think it's incredibly compelling.
Yeah.
In if not conclusive. What got me, so I was admittedly one of the people who, right when it happened, like the hit had just happened, the footage had just happened, he was ostensibly in the hospital fighting for his life, and people were like, OMG, the jab. And there was no, we didn't even know if he had been jabbed. And it was like, show a little respect, just hold off for 2 seconds until we know if he dies or not. Like, let's give this guy a chance to fight for his life before we dunk on it as like, look, we were right about the vax. And I tweeted, because I'm all about tweeting about all of that now. Like, I just wanted to give it 12 hours,
Sure.
I've said the same thing for school shootings forever. I never comment on a school shooting the day it happens, ever.
Yeah.
Other than to say maybe thoughts and prayers or something, but I won't talk about my thoughts. I know a lot of people jump right onto we have to defend guns right away. And I'm like, I understand that this is an attack from the left, that the media is focusing on it for a reason, but I don't want to be like them. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but go ahead.
So I just wanted to be clear. I wanted to wait until we knew, we just gave him a chance to fight for his life, gave us a chance to know if he had died on the field or if he had survived before we start talking about the vax, and especially the kind of more dunk tweets. Like, I didn't have a problem with the ones that were like, oh man, that's really sucks. I wonder if it was the vax. I didn't have a problem with those, but the ones that were like, yep, look, we told you so. Those hit wrong in the moment for me. But
and you run a conspiracy theory podcast, and we run a conspiracy theory page. It's got a lot of people, and I think we both do this at times where there's a story that's breaking, and it would probably be better for us, growth wise, financial wise, whatever, to jump on the latest thing the moment it happens, to be the first one to get the story out. And I know that we don't do that very often. We try to get some facts and we tell people that. So I actually agree with your take on this a little bit. I understand the other side where people are like, they've done this to us for years. I feel like it's a reactionary response where people are so hurt from being like, show me your papers, everywhere they go, show me your papers. Are you jabbed? Like, it's kind of a pushback, but I also don't want to become like my enemies either.
No, if it's bad when they do it, it's bad when we do it. We can't say, I never agree when they're like, well, they did it to us, we should do it to them. No, if it was bad, it was bad. We have to be better than that. But I tweeted the other day just the question, is Damar Hamlin alive? And I had a lot of people be like, show some respect. Why would you ask that?
You did do exactly what you said you were going to do. You said, I'm going to wait and then I'll talk about it. Now you're talking about it.
I talked about it as soon as he was like, as soon as it was like 24 hours in or something like that. But I'm like, show respect for what? The dead?
Then that answers your question.
Doesn't that answer my question? Asking if he's alive or not, wanting to confirm that he's alive. In what way is that disrespectful?
Right. Yeah.
It was insane how many people were like, show some respect all over Twitter. Like, what?
Respect for the dead, obviously. He's not alive anymore. So
Yikes.
You know what else is not alive is the left's credibility with this whole transgender issue, because we've heard the identify, the Babylon Bee's got 2 jokes and one of them is identifies as. And I love it when they just write the jokes for us, because now we've got the Hollywood Reporter with this Babylon Bee headline. Michelle Yeoh has made history as the first person who identifies as Asian to ever be nominated for the Best Actress at the Oscars. And I find this so hilarious, because remember when the left was not all about Rachel Dolezal? They're like, we don't, come on. Obviously, we think men can be women, but something as basic as like skin pigmentation could not be changed, like genitalia and hormones and chromosomes and brain chemistry and all these things. Those can be changed, but something as easy as pigment can't be changed unless you're Michael Jackson. I find it funny that now they're just throwing that out and they're like, yeah, I guess you can change your race.
They're pro-transracial now.
They're pro-transracial now.
Ollie London did it, so.
I still don't know how to feel about Ollie London. He's become like this really anti-trans person on Twitter, and I'm like, is this just his next grift?
Right.
It definitely is, right?
Right.
Like, he's saying the right things now, but he's still a grifter.
I don't know. In some ways, he just strikes me as so. There's grifters who are smart enough to know that they're manipulating people.
I don't think he's smart. I think he's a grifter.
And then there's people who are just kind of blown around by the wind. I think he's that.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's an intentional grifter. I think he's just easily influenced.
If you listen to his interviews, that's exactly what it sounds like. He sounds like he's just like, oh, this is the thing that was popular, and now this is the thing that is popular. And he's just like taking that side, It's like, this is the thing. Let me put it this way. This is the thing that will get me in the news, is to say that I'm trans Korean. And then everybody's like, oh, that was funny. And then they forgot about it. And then he's like, oh, what would really get me back in the media spotlight is to be anti-trans.
Despite being a trans Korean.
Yeah.
So stupid. I don't know.
He's
not a very intelligent man.
No, I think he's just blown around by.
He just
what is the line? Never attribute to.
Attribute to malice, but you can attribute to stupidity or something like that.
Well, I think he's stupid, but I also just think he's disingenuous. Whether he realizes it or not, he's kind of, this is the thing. So yeah, I don't know. Good for him for saying the right things, I guess. But like next month when he's, whatever his next big thing to get in the news will be, everybody will be mad, and I'll just be like, yeah, well, that's your fault. So. I got one more. So we're getting close to the end of the show, and I know we don't have like super chats to read, but if you want to ask any questions or have any comments, we'll try to read those in the last few minutes as I bring up another story. So feel free to type anything that you want us to cover. I found this one talking about the whole trans issue. UK menopause law change rejected as it could discriminate against men. So now they're worried about discriminating against that, that portion of men who experience menopause. Proposal to the UK to change legislation to protect the rights of women experiencing menopause have in part been rejected by the government due to fears such a move would discriminate against men. The cross-party women Equalities Committee last July published a report focusing on menopause at the workplace, which included recommendations to make menopause a protected characteristic under the Equality Act. I love seeing the left eat themselves. We need to make menopause a protected class, because we don't have enough of those now, right? We have enough people that have this hierarchy of like, how oppressed am I? Now it's menopause is added to that oppression hierarchy, and then instantly rejected because trans trumps all. I find this so funny.
I didn't know you could discriminate against men. I thought they were evil.
I didn't know you could either, unless those men are Dylan Mulvaney. And then I find it funny that they say men. The
Right?
article says men. It doesn't say against women with penises who can't have menopause. It actually says men, which is just them again, just shooting their own narrative in the head. What do you think, Abby?
My husband just sent me another story. I don't know if we have time.
Yeah, whatever. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, this is a good one. Do you remember the Tiger King?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I watched that. I'm pulling this up now.
So the whole thing, the whole lore was that Carol Baskin probably killed her husband because he was just, gone, presumed dead. And then all of a sudden, he's just found chilling in Costa Rica.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, you all cool cats and kittens. Carol Baskin claimed her husband isn't dead after all. Wait, hold on. Is he dead or is she saying he's not dead? The Tiger King star declares that her missing ex-husband, Don Lewis, was found alive in Costa Rica, but the discovery is just now going viral over 1 year later. During a resurfaced November 2021 interview with ITV's The Morning Talk Show, Baskins alleged that her husband, who was declared legally dead in 2002 after disappearing a few years before, was actually alive and well. Hold on. Did she kill him still? Because this is saying that she's telling the news that he's alive.
Oh. What?
No, it's still, I'm glad we pulled up the story, but like, this is hilarious. He's alive according to the woman who killed him with no proof.
So they just need to go find him and confirm whether or not he's alive.
Here's what's even funnier about this. Like, she got like a huge payout for his death.
Oh, yeah, the life insurance.
So does she have to give that back? If she's claiming he's alive? Like, is she doing this balancing act between, I don't think anybody will come after the life insurance money, but I do think that they're going to come after me for saying, for killing him.
Murder.
So now I have to like balance, like, which one is, like, can I get away with this or can I get away with this? Is it easier to get away with insurance fraud or is it easier to get away with murder? Like, that's what I'm thinking this is.
It's like Carol Baskin's
He'll spend less time
murdered,
in jail for insurance fraud.
Presumed murdered husband is found alive. Source, Carol Baskin. Oh, man. That was such a thing in 2020. Like, 2020 had so many eras because it was a forever year, but the Tiger
2020
King
was a
era,
long decade for sure. Like, the year was a decade, a long decade. Sorry, what were you saying?
I'm sorry. I'm distracted.
That
Somebody in the
is-
chat saying that I've been disrespectful to fat women on this show, and I feel like I have like genuinely defended fat people on this show and like taken heat for it. So I don't really know what you're talking about. I'm sorry if you felt like something I said was disrespectful. I have never ever like intentionally been unkind to people for their weight on this show. I don't do that.
I don't know where that came from, but yeah,
No, I
you
don't.
haven't. So.
Yeah, it kept coming up, so I just wanted to say something because I genuinely apologize for anything that I said that was taken that way. That's not my intention at all.
All right, so there's a part of this. I was scrolling down through this article. It says, this is Carol Baskin talking. She says, they said my husband, Don Lewis, is alive and well in Costa Rica. And yet all this drama has been made about me having something to do with his disappearance when Homeland Security has known where he is. But like, you're the one who's telling us this. It's like, someone told me he's alive, so why don't you lay off my back?
Yeah, I didn't kill him. He's totally just...
Believe me.
You know what?
But
there was
What?
a whole nother tiger owner, like big cat owner, that seemed like he had a commune and was abusing women. And I was really expecting something to come out about that guy and his whole cult, and it never happened.
Yeah, there was. I'm trying to remember which guy that was. He was like the really, really culty one. And yeah, I mean, I watched that show once and now I'm trying to remember it. What's up with people who want to own tigers all being insane? Well, I guess I just answered myself.
You
if you want to own
answered
tigers,
right.
like
You want tigers?
there's
you're
something
insane.
wrong with you, I guess. That's the takeaway. If you guys got anything out of this 2-hour live stream, it's that if you want to own tigers, you're insane. And if you're, look, there's a difference between someone who likes cats, already a little iffy. They like tigers, they're probably going to try to murder you. So, life advice, I don't know. Take of that what you will. All right, we're at the end of this 2 hours. Do you guys have anything you want to say to wrap up, or?
We talked a lot about how the government's controlling us. So don't forget to go like and follow Lit. We're going to be talking about George Orwell's 1984 Tuesday at 7 p.m. next week. Hope to see you guys there.
All right, cool. Thank you so much for joining us, Jess. I'm going to drop this link for Lit in the chat again. You guys can follow it. Check out 1984, the episode on that. Really good stuff. So what about you, Abby? Anything you want to say? Yeah, thank you.
If you missed it, PJ and I covered vampires, cannibals, and Hollywood last week on Conspiracy Pilled. So that's a
yesterday.
fun on YouTube and Rumble.
Yeah,
last
or
week.
yesterday.
Yesterday, a million years ago.
It's a really good
was.
episode, and it definitely gave me nightmares. So forewarning.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We will be back. Tom will be back with us next week on the Last American Pubcast. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time. God bless.